So while I was doing my review for the First Omen over on Patreon, which again, if you want to check out that video, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier. Shameless plug, but who cares? I talked about like maybe I'll do like a 10 favorite horror prequel movies. And I was kind of like, maybe later, but I was like, nah, I'm going to do it now. Like, I want to do that video now. So, these are this isn't a top 10 list. I will preference and say that this isn't a top 10 list. These are just 10 of my favorite horror prequel movies. Now, horror prequel movies have gotten a bit of a bad rap. A lot of them are like, we know the story, and you have to follow that story specifically. And a lot of them aren't good. But there are a few that are really great, and a few that are really fun, and trust me, you're going to see one that just came out, and it's already one of my favorites already. So, yeah, like I said, this isn't a top 10 list, and as always, if you guys think a movie is on here that you think shouldn't be on here, that's totally fine. I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. And like I said, not a top 10. So, there you go. It's just 10 of my personal favorites. And I'm always excited to hear what you guys have for 10 favorites. So, here we go. Starting off, our first movie, and this is from a movie again, some of these movies are films that I had no expectations for. This being one of them, Orphan, First Kill. This was a movie that was coming out on streaming. Orphan was a decent film, and I was like, I don't know, like, it just feels like nothing's really needed. I feel like the story's kind of open shut. But no, Orphan First Kill really surprised me on how good it was. It had an amazing twist I didn't see coming. It was a brutal film, and the actress playing Esther just gives it her all in every scene. Like, it is just boom, 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 and it's like she never left the character. It's amazing. I absolutely love this movie. It's a great prequel, and a hell of a lot better than the other prequel horror film that Paramount put out last year with Pet Sematary Bloodlines. That movie sucked. Like, a lot. Anyway. So, next up on our list is, and we're just going to go through, all of them have The Beginning as the subtitle. So keep that in mind. We're just going to go through all three of the beginnings I have. Starting off with Ginger Snaps, The Beginning. This isn't a good movie by any means, and nowhere in a far cry from the amazing film that is Ginger Snaps, the original film. But it's better than Ginger Snaps 2. I know some people like that movie, but I personally don't. And Ginger Snaps, The Beginning is a fun movie. It's a nice, cool concept, and it's somewhere we don't really get to see, like a post-colonial French outpost being besieged by werewolves at night. That's a really cool idea. Like, I think I really do feel like it was an original idea, but someone said, hey, no one's gonna care about this fucking movie. Put Ginger Snaps in there so it has some IP value, because that happens a lot in films. So, I honestly would not be shocked if that was the case. Like, this movie was meant to be like an original, like, low-budget direct-to-DVD film, but then they were like, you know what? No one's gonna watch this if we don't put it as an original IP. Let's use a used IP and put it in here. And that's what I really feel like it was used for. But still, it's a fun movie. The main actresses from the past 3 films come back, they kill it, and there's some good monster effects in here, too. I really enjoy. It's a fun movie. That's what it really comes down to. Speaking of fun movies, let's talk about Tremors 4, The Beginning. It's the perfect movie idea. Graboids in the Old West. How good is that? We have, Bert, Bert Gummer, like the actor playing Bert Gummer, coming back to play Gummer's, ancestor, the creation of perfection, and the Graboids are really cool. It's a great character. It's a great fun story. Like I said, this and Ginger Snaps, not good movies per se, and a far cry from the original films. But I gotta admit, I would pop this in and watch it if the mood called for it, and I would still enjoy the film. Like, don't underestimate me on that. I would definitely pop this movie in and along with Ginger Snaps and enjoy this. And that also goes for our next film with The Beginning in the title, and that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. Now, what's fascinating about this film is that this film is not a prequel to the original film. That displeasure goes to Leatherface, and fuck that movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning is a prequel to the remake, which is a decent remake in of itself. This movie has some good gore. R. Lee Ermey back as the head of the Hoyt family is really good. The Hewitt family, excuse me. He's a great villain, and he's a great addition to the multiple variations of the Sawyer clan, or Hewitt clan in the remake. There's some great gore. There's some decent effects. I really like this movie. This is, again, another fun movie, and yeah, it's definitely better. I would watch this over Leatherface anytime. Hell, I would probably watch this over a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequels. Anyway, so there you go. Now, next up is that recent movie I just mentioned, The First Omen. Yeah, I love this movie so much after seeing it. It's going in my list of 10 favorite horror movies. I was thinking maybe it's just viewer biased or whatever. No, it's a good fucking movie. And I'm going to say this right now. As it stands, as of this recording, this could change. Keep in mind, we've still got a whole year left of movies, so this could easily change. But this is my favorite movie of 2024 so far. Every movie from now on has to compete with, was it as good as The First Omen? I imagine this will change because we got Joker 2, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu coming out. We also have Deadpool 3. A lot can change, but as it stands right now, The First Omen is my favorite movie of the year so far. But then again, it really only had to compete with Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. The other three movies I've seen were just, eh. Anywho, but getting back to on topic, The First Omen. Oh my god, go see this movie. Like right now. If you want to check out my full review, where I give a little more, not spoilery detail, but like, yeah, if you want to hear my full review on it, just hit the link below, head over my Patreon, hit the first tier. But all I'm going to say is, I was never a big fan of The Omen, and the Omen original series sucked. The original, not series, the franchise that followed after The Omen. I acknowledge that the original 70s Omen is a important piece to horror history, horror cinema in general. I think it's a decent film. It's not one of my favorites. It is a good movie. I'm just saying, like, it's never a movie that I've really been like, oh my god, The Omen. And also, the sequels and the remakes suck. Like, they all suck. But, having said that, though, this was this might be my favorite movie of the franchise. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I can say. I don't want to spoil it. And like I said, if you want to check out my full review on it, hit the link below, head over to my Patreon, hit the first tier. There you go. And again, I know, shameless plug, but hey, I'm just here. I'm a simple man trying to make his way through the galaxy. Anyway, so our next prequel on this list, this next horror prequel, isn't a prequel to a movie. It's an animated film that's a prequel to a video game, and that is Dead Space Downfall. I didn't say they were all going to be, I said they were prequel horror movies. I didn't say all of them were prequels to horror movies. So yes, Dead Space Downfall was do you remember that time in the early 2000s where like a lot of video games were getting animated movie prequels or animated adaptations? I think there was one for Turok, there was one for this, also there was Dead Space Aftermath, but fuck that movie. There was a Dante's Inferno animated film, and I feel like there was one more. But yeah, does anyone remember that where like there was a hot minute where like movies and a lot of video games were getting animated prequels or in-game stories? Anybody remember that? Because I do. I have some of those. I still have some of those movies. Yeah. But getting back on topic, Dead Space Downfall is the story of what happened to the Ishimura after they took the marker and brought it on the ship. It's a great horror story. There's great gore effects, and it's a bloody film. It's a great seamless transition from that movie into the game, whether it be like the remake or the original video game. It's a great film. Dead Space Aftermath sucks. I'm not gonna lie, but Dead Space Downfall, it's a great like self-contained story, and it, like I said, transitions seamlessly into the original video game. Or if you want to also say the remake as well. I think it could work for both, honestly. Anyway, so yeah, Dead Space Downfall, it had to be here. Next up is Ouija, Origin of Evil. Ouija, Origin of Evil is a prequel to a garbage movie. Does anyone remember the original Ouija movie? Oh, that movie sucked. Like, sucked donkey balls. This movie, however, is directed by Mike Flanagan, who most of you guys would know best as, like, the director of The Haunting of Hill House. He had done Gerald's Game, and also and Dr. Sleep. Most importantly, one of my favorite movies based off of a Stephen King film, and probably one of my favorite horror movies ever. I like that movie more than The Shining. Come at me. But yeah, this movie is you can watch this movie without watching Ouija. Ouija Origin of Evil is a great 70s period piece horror film. It's a great character piece. It has some great scares too. Like, you watch this and go, this is a prequel to a fuck awful movie? Why wasn't this the movie? Right? Anyway, so next up we have Pearl. Pearl was the surprise prequel to X. So Pearl I actually like more than X. It's a great gory film, but it's also like this beautiful twisted nightmare. Mia Goth gives a excellent performance, and she's definitely going to be a scream queen for the next foreseeable future. Pearl, I love the saturated colors. I love just the twisted nightmare of it all, really. Like, it's a beautiful nightmare. That's the best way to describe Pearl, is that it's a beautiful nightmare. Bloody film, disturbing, all of that. I love it. Next up, Red Dragon. Red Dragon, I know this film isn't as liked as much as, like, A Silence of the Lambs or Hannibal, but it's a hell of a lot better than Hannibal Rising, I tell you what. This movie, I think it's a decent film. And I understand why people wouldn't like it as much as the others. But I will say that, like, the film... sorry, the chair was... Fucking chair. The film definitely, I think, has some great performances. Edward Norton's kind of boring. And honestly, you could make the argument that the original film... it's also a remake. That's the other thing, is that it's a remake and a prequel to Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal, while also being a remake of a movie called Manhunter, which that movie also is pretty good too. But I will say, Ralph Fiennes, the guy who played Voldemort, he plays the Tooth Fairy, aka Francis Dollarhine, and he's phenomenal in this role. I also, again, Anthony Hopkins back in the film. You can't deny, that dude is Hannibal Lecter. He kills in this role. Edward Norton again is just there. He doesn't. I know he's a great actor, but like this isn't one of my what I would call a go-to performance. Also, it doesn't help that this movie was directed by Brett Ratner, who most of you guys know best for X-Men 3 and Hercules, and also being a sexual predator. There's that too. But yeah. That's why I don't go back to this movie a lot, because it's just the director's there. It's just the director's presence is there. You can feel it. Ugh. But still, I like the movie. It's a really good prequel. So before we talk about our last one, I know this isn't a number one, by the way. Like I said, this isn't a top 10 list. A couple the two that almost made the list but didn't. One being Dominion, the prequel to The Exorcist. Dominion is a lot better than Exorcist the Beginning. Dominion is the movie that was almost like the original Snyder Cut, where it was like meant to be the actual director's version of the film that was Exorcist Beginning. Dominion's carried by a lot of great acting. The story does kind of drag at points, and the final Exorcist scene is kind of silly and goofy, but comparatively speaking, it's better than Exorcist 2. I mean, and Exorcist Believer. I would watch this over Exorcist Believer, but as we all know, Exorcist 3 is the best of the Exorcist franchise, and I would also dare say that it's better than The Exorcist, the original film. That's just me, though. And also another movie that didn't quite make the cut, which was The Thing prequel, which was also called The Thing. The movie does have some dull characters. and it doesn't really feel believable that it is supposed to be set in 1982, but it has a nice seamless transition into the original film. And I know this movie also got hindered by bad CGI, but it's still a fun time. Like, it's a movie that if I'm in the right mood for, I'll go check it out. I'll give it a watch. But I'll still watch the original over this. And finally, for our last movie, Prey. Now, Prey, I don't know if Prey really counts as a prequel because it's its own. It's basically the first time a predator showed up on Earth, or rather, this tribe. It's kind of loose. It's kind of a fast and loose story, but I'll call it a prequel. It's a damn good film. It's a great Predator film. After how bad The Predator was, this movie was a shot in the arm for the franchise. A much-needed one. Naru is a great protagonist. The Native American setting is phenomenal. This is a great film. Who gives a fuck about the CGI animals? The story itself is carried more by that than by characters, by story, by great killing. Like, there's just a great kill scene with all those French trappers just getting absolutely mollywomped by the Predator, by the Yautja. That's so fucking cool. Anyway, so there you go, guys. Those are 10 of my favorite horror prequels. You guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of these prequels? And also, what are some of your favorite horror movie prequels? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.